How you doing there? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we're studying Daf Samach Daf 68 of Masechet Nedarim, friends. That was good. Alright, well. Today we're continuing talking about what we were talking about yesterday, like engaged woman, girl, and Naira, and her father and her fiance can be made for her Nedarim. Yesterday we learned it out from the pasuk of V'im Hayosiyeh, and today we're going to learn it out from another pasuk, friends. And then we're going to get to an interesting question again, if you're interested in that question. Alright, let's go weiter. We try to keep things neutral over here. Give some space to the people over here at Babylon Talmud to decide for themselves. Oh, wait, 1 second. I have to flip over my phone. You might be wondering what I mean all the time about flipping over my phone. It means I have a lot of different phones. And what's particularly frustrating is that there's a bug right now in Groove. And it's only on some Android phones. And I have 2 Android phones, and it doesn't happen on either one. I have 3 phones. And my phones, there's no bug, which makes it really hard to debug something when you actually can't experience it. All you know is that it's happening to other people, which is pretty annoying. Anyways, so one of my phones, when it's face up, then I get notifications on it, and it distracts me. So I'm a very distractible little guy. Let's go weiter. Dver Bishmel Tana. So at the top of Daf Samach Ralph, we say that by the Besmerish of Bishmel, Bein Ish Leishto, Bein Av Levito. So it says by Nedarim. So it says between a fellow and his wife. So that's the husband. Bein Av Levito, and a father and daughter. So that's the father. So we see, we learn from here that by Naira Marasa, both her father as well as her fiance can be made for her Nedarim. So according to Tana Dever Bishmal, who learns it out from Benish Lishto, Ben of Levito, so what does he do with the other pasuk of Hayosiyah Liish? So Mukim Liidach de Rave. So he needs it for the other situation of Rave, which we're going to get to in another 2 days or something. Wait, what? Apparently? Yeah, I guess. Wait, what? What do we learn out from that pasuk? Oh, what? Yeah. Right, there's another opinion of Rava that we can get to on Daf Ayin about, how do we know that, we'll get there. How do we know that if somebody if the fiance dies, then the father could be made for the Nedarim? How do we know that? Okay, fine. The Rabba, the Tani, Deve Yishmael, my Ovidle. So Rabba, who learns out from, it's so confusing if it's Rabba or Rabba because they keep on changing it. So we said Rabba and Daf Samach Zayin Amarav, but now already he's calling it Rave. We're going to stick with Rabba. I think the Ron sticks with Rabba. So Rabba, I Tana Deve Yishmael, my Ovidle. So what does Rabba, who learns out from Hayosiyah Leish, what does he do with Benish Lish Duvin of Levito? So Mibayle Lomer Shabal Meif Nedarim Sheben Leveno teaches that the husband can that the Baal could be made for the Nedarim Sheben Leveno, which we're going to explain on Daf Pei. Ibayle the Asakasha Baal Megas Gayas or Makli Mikalish Kolish. Ha. What does that mean? It means this. So we say that. So when we have a Naira Marasa, so the father and the fiance are made for her Nedarim in tandem. We need both of them. So it's a technical kasha. We want to know, okay, so we need both of them. So when the first one is Mefer, what does that technically mean? Is let's say the Baal, the fiance, when he's Mefer, is he Mefer half the neder, or does he dilute, so to speak, the entire neder? Okay, you get the chiluk, right? So is half of it completely wiped clean and the other half is completely intact, or is the entire thing diluted, so to speak? So Baal Megas Gayas or Makalish Kolish. Does the fiance, does he wipe clean half the neder and then relies upon the father to wipe clean the other half? Oh, Mikalish kolish, or does he sort of weaken the entire neder, and then the father completely weakens it to the entire extent? Heicha komi boilan. What's the nafkamina? Kegon. Here's the nafkamina. The nadra mitrain zaysin. If this Nar Marasa says, she looks at 2 olives and she says, no way, no how. I ain't getting no benefit. You olives are like a korban to me. That's what she says. And Vishama Arus, and her fiance hears, and he says, no way, no how. Veheferlo. So he's made for the neder. But the father still wasn't made for the neder. Ve'achalasnu. And then she ate both of them. Oh, now what? Friends, you hear the kasha? So basically, she made a neder that these 2 olives are like a korban to her. Now, the husband here, the fiance hears it, and he's made for the neder. So if you say that by being made for, right, by the fiance being made for, he's made for 50%. So he basically wipes clean one of the olives, but would need the father to be made for the other olive, and until the father is made for the other olive is entirely intact. So he basically cancels out one olive, but the other olive is entirely intact. Now she ate both olives, which means that Memela, she ate one of the olives which she was not allowed to eat at all. So then she'll get malchus, as we're about to say. But if you say that the husband basically diluted the whole thing, right? She says she's not going to eat these olives, and then the husband, by being made for it, he sort of like, dilutes the neder, so to speak, like by 50%. Well, then you don't have, you just have like a diluted neder, and you wouldn't get malchus for that. So Vishama Arus Veifel of Achalas, and she ate both of them. So if you say that the husband canceled out 50% of it, so lakios, then she would get malchus because she still ate an olive that she wasn't allowed to eat. But if you say that the husband sort of weakened the entire neder, now it's just it's a neder that's in a weakened state. Isur ba'almu, so it's an isur, but you wouldn't get malchus for it. So what do we say? So do we say it's mekalish kolish or megis gayis? Toshma kominir. A mosai omru meisabal nisrokno rishus leov. So we're going to see on Daf Ayin this concept of that if the fiance dies, he makes a permanent visit to Wellwood, and he dies. So meisabal nisrokno rishus leov. So, permanent until Tchias HaMesim. That, where do we learn about Tchias HaMesim? I think we learned about it in Masech Ksubis, right? Pretty sure at the end, Darin. So when do we say that if the fiance dies, so then his ability to be made for her Nedarim is then transferred to the father, and the father can be made for her Nedarim in place of the father. Bizman shelo shama habal kodem sheyamus. If the husband had not heard the neder before he died, right? So meaning the nedarim, right? If an Narim Marasa makes a neder, so then both the father and the fiance need to be made for in tandem. Now, the Mishnah on Daf Ayin says that if the fiance dies, well then his right is transferred to the father, and the father can be made for on his own. But we say, when is that? That's as long as the fiance had not heard the neder before he died. Oh, sheshama behefer, or he heard the neder before he died, and he was mefer the neder before he died, but now he died, and so his afara then goes in the garbage. Oh, sheshama v'shasa kumez bo bayom. Or he heard the neder and he didn't do anything, he wasn't made for it, he kept quiet, but he died when there was still time left in the day that he could have been made for. So in any of those cases, so then the right of the fiance to be made for the nedarim is transferred to the father. Zoi sheshaninu meisaba nisrok nushuslav. That is what it means that if the fiance dies, so then his right to be made for the Nedarim is transferred to to her father. Avo, however, im shama v'kiyem. But if the fiance heard the neder and was mekayim it, and right, so if we bring back, right, so I think we're done with the olives for now. So we can that means we can go back to our favorite example, pizza. That if she says she's not going to eat any pizza, and he said, all right, you don't want to eat pizza, don't eat pizza. As long as I can eat pizza, do whatever you want. Or if you heard and he didn't say anything, and he dies the next day, which means that by not being made for the neder on the day that he heard it, it becomes it goes into force. Ein yachol offer. Well then, so then the father would be unable to be mefer at that point because the husband was mekayim the neder. Shama avia v'heferla. If her father heard the neder and the father was mefer the neder, v'lo hispik bal lishmoa ad shemes ha'av, and the fiance, right before the fiance had a chance to hear the neder and be made for it, the father died. So the father was made for the neder, and then before the husband had a chance to hear the neder, the father then died. Zoe sheshaninu. That is what we teach Mesa of, that if the father died, lo nisrokna rishus laba'al, the husband does not have the permission to be mefer the neder, because when the father died, even though he was mefer it when he was alive, when he dies, that hafara dies with him, and now the husband, would have to be mefer alone, but he can't be mefer alone. He needs the father, and the father's dead. Shama baila, if the fiance heard veheferla and was mefer the neder, v'lo hispika of lishmoa ad shemesabal, and then the father dies, and the father had not yet heard the neder at the time that the if I say husband, I mean fiance, dies. So the father, right, the right of the fiance to be made for the neder is transferred to the father, and the father can then be made for the entire neder. Shama baila vehefrila, if the fiance heard the neder and was made for the neder, but the father died before the father had a chance to hear it, right? So the fiance had heard the neder and was made for the neder. The father never heard the neder and he died. So the husband, the fiance would be unable to be mefer the father's part, because the fiance can only be mefer in tandem with the fiance can only be mefer in tandem with the father. Okay. Now we're going to see on Daf Ayin that kilu this is sort of something that the father has above and beyond the fiance, that the father can be made for alone, the fiance cannot. The father in certain situations can be made for alone, the fiance cannot. But we're going to see that there's an example where the fiance, however, has something up on the father. Shema avia ve'efila, that if the meaning on Dav's ayin, we're going to see that. Shema avia ve'efila, if the father heard the neder and was made for the neder, v'lo hispik abal l'shmoa ad shemes, and then the fiance died and he never had heard the neder. Ha'av chozer av u'mefer chelko shel baal. So the father then goes and is mefer the portion of the fiance, right? So the father had heard the neder and was mefer the neder. The fiance did not hear the neder and the fiance dies. So now there's, it sounds like there's 50% of the neder remaining, and the father can then go and be made for that 50%. So, Amr ibn Nosan, Ein Divrei Beis Shammai. Says Ibn Nosan, that's the opinion of Beis Shammai. Beis Hillel says, Beis Hillel, Ein Yachol Lahafer, the father cannot then go and be made for the husband, the fiance's part. No. So we see that according to Beis Shammai, it's Megiz guys that it gets cut in half, right? And therefore, when the father had been made for the neder, he basically canceled out half of the neder. The husband then died. The father then goes back and he's made for the other half of the neder. So he kind of inherits that from the fiance, and he's made for it. Whereas according to Beis Hillel, it's Mekalish Kolish. The father, when he was made for the neder, he weakened it, and because he weakened it, when the husband died, the Ran explains, if I understand correctly, that it's therefore not choshuv, right? The father, by being made for the neder, already weakened it when the fiance was alive. When the fiance dies, so then it's already a weakened neder. It doesn't get transferred to it's not significant enough to be transferred then to the father, and therefore the father can't be made for it, and therefore Beis Hillel says that Rai says Ein Yachol Lahafer, the father would be unable to be made for the husband's part in this case. So we see that according to Beis Hillel, it's Mekalish Kolish, that the father, when he was made for the neder, he weakened it. Friends, well, that was Daf Samech of Masechta Nedarim. We saw another way to learn out that the father and the fiance are made for the Nedarim of an Arim are also in tandem. And we also saw the machlokas ultimately between Beis Hillel and Beis Shammai about when you are made for a neder, are you megiz gayis? Do you, right, when one of them is made for the neder, right, either the father or the fiance, do they sort of cancel out half the neder, or do they weaken the entire neder? Shkoich, thank you so much. Catch you later. Peace out.